Hello and welcome to a Victoria 3 video. Now, it has been quite some time since I've last done one of these. That's because this has been a whole ass Christmas break. And also I got very sick over it. There have been multiple AARs done over the Christmas holiday period, and the plan was to, do some of those on the channel like I did with the Korean baby AAR. And just basically share them with you. Unfortunately, I got very sick over the holidays, and so I haven't actually managed to be able to do those. But I am feeling much better now, and we're going to be doing those. But first, we've got some more Vicky stuff to go through, and that's the latest Dev Diary number 29. But even before then, we've got something else to go through, and that is the Twitter teasers that Martin has been sharing on Twitter over the holiday period, because there's some pretty decent ones, some pretty fun things to look at. So how about we look at those, starting with this one here. Dev Diaries on holiday break, but I'm still posting weekly Tuesday teasers. Here's Ethiopia, which is in the middle of the Zemene Mesafint. I have no idea what that is. Shiva was a key power in this age of decentralization, and their submission to Tewodros II was a major step on the road to unification. So yeah, that's before, I guess, Ethiopia has been unified. I'm pretty sure Ethiopia starts unified in Victoria 2. I might be wrong. But yeah, lovely that they're spending a bit of time giving love to the African nations that kind of got a little bit shafted in Victoria 2. Not too much attention, I guess, paid to them. But yeah, having more attention paid to other nations. Always going to be a fan of that, always. Next up, we have this one from the 28th of December. For anyone that will want a challenging start in PDX Victoria, the free city of Krakow should offer one. A tiny Austrian puppet surrounded by great powers, the clever Krakow player might make use of its liberal starting laws to become a major economic hub in the Austrian market. And now, you may think, oh, that's not a realistic start. You can't really make anything of Krakow in Victoria. It's like you're a one province minor, you're tiny, your population is tiny. I mean, you can see here they've got a population of 224,000. You can see that right there. Their literacy is at 19%. They're impoverished. They're having a not so great time. Not so great time indeed. But it is going to be possible, certainly not easy, but certainly possible to actually form Poland without using exploits or cheats or anything like that. It is going to be possible. So that's exciting. That's interesting. I'm looking forward to giving that hellscape a run. But yeah, love it. Next up, this one from the 4th of January, another quite challenging country in Vicky 3, is Haiti. Saddled with crushing debt repayments to France, a successful Haiti player will either need to leverage its limited natural resource to grow their income or renege on the debt and risk French retaliation. So yeah, they've got a lot of debt, and they're spending £2,000 a week, I believe that is, to pay off those debts. So yeah, having a bit of trouble. Though, maybe they can look for German help, attack the French while I renege on these debts. That might be a good deal there, maybe. Next up, we have this one from the 11th of January, just yesterday. In Vicky 3, even the most benign seeming actions can have undesirable consequences. For instance, cracking down on child labour without first creating the welfare systems required to offset the income loss is a surefire way to make your poorest pops even poorer. So if child labor is allowed at the start of the game, I would assume from most countries, you cut that off, well, yeah, that's a loss of income, but also a loss of kids dying in the mines, which, depending on your point of view, is probably a bad thing. I would hope. But yeah, interesting that there's not much that is a straight up absolute good thing to do, beneficial in every circumstance. Sometimes there are things that maybe aren't 100% positive, right? Everything has realistic drawbacks, even if we would consider them to be absolute good things to do, like, you know, banning child labor. Next up, we have the Twitter teaser for this here Dev Diary. And I gotta say here, I consider this a personal attack of the highest order, because I've made my opinion on pie charts very well known, especially going back to the days of Imperator Rome. I made my opinions on pie charts very clear, very loudly, very publicly. So I kind of think I've got an inkling, a little hint. I'm feeling like this is directed at me. The objectively best form of chart. Pretty sure I've said the exact inverse of that quote. I'm pretty sure I've said it's the objectively not the best, or something. I do something along those lines. Pie charts suck. They really suck. Can I just point out, right? Here, population. We got peasants, we got laborers, and we got slaves. What's the yellow one? Any idea? Any guess? You don't know. Why don't you know? Because instead of having, you know, another little bit of, you know, a yellow box here telling you what the yellow box is, and the black box telling you what the black box is, instead of that, we got a big fucking useless pie chart in the way. Because it's fucking I hate pie charts. They suck so bad. They suck so bad. They're horrible, terrible, very, very bad. So, also, I'm pretty sure I say the word objectively quite a lot. I'm pretty sure this is a personal attack. I'm feeling like this is a bit of a personal attack right here. But anyway, let's go into today's Dev Diary, and hopefully we won't be personally attacked there as well. So, here we go. Dev Diary number 29, the user experience overview. And now, user experience, UI is a part of the user experience, but it also encompasses more things than just that. And it's incredibly important. A bad UI and a bad user experience means that people won't try your game, right? Victoria 2 is a phenomenal example of this. Victoria 2 is a phenomenal game, with mechanics in that game are still like ahead of their time compared to its contemporaries in CK or EU4. Pop system, the economic system, I would argue even the military system are just straight up improvements. They are better than what we've seen in games that come after it. I'm going to say the warfare system is also an improvement over what we're going to get in Victoria 3, but that's just, we'll leave that behind us. We'll leave the warfare, I don't want to get sad, right? Let's just keep, you know, whatever. The thing that lets Victoria 2 down massively, like, it would have way more players than it does if this wasn't the case, right? The user experience, mostly down to the UI, it's in Victoria 2, it's not very good. It's not very user-friendly. It doesn't give you any hints or hold your hand at all. It's a pretty bad UI. And it's not just the UI, it is also other parts to do with user experience. Things like a macro builder would count as user experience, right? A macro builder to build your armies, build your factories, that kind of thing is very, very awkward in Victoria 2. And that's the big part that lets it down. So, let's have a look at how they are going to alleviate those very specific problems in Victoria 3. And this is by Henrik, no D in there. He's a UX designer in Paradox Development Studios. He's been a part of Victoria 3 team for almost the entirety of the project, and since he's about to take a few months of parental leave, well, congratulations. He wanted to leave us with a brief summary and overview of the thoughts and ideas from that form the foundation of the user experience design in our game. Also, say hello to Aaron, whom I've written this Dev Diary in cooperation with. Aaron has been my UX Padawan for the past year and will be shouldering the UX while I'm gone. Well, hello Aaron, welcome to the team, and good luck. I'm sure there's quite a lot to juggle when it comes to UX. Basically, like, I'm pretty ignorant of how UX and UI and all. I'm not a game dev. All I do is complain about pie charts. So I'm sure these guys do a phenomenal job, even if they've chosen pie charts. First and foremost, why do we do what we do? Basically, our end goal is to make the game more approachable and accessible so that we can make it even deeper and more complex. Complexity should not come from knowing where to find something and why something happened, but from the deep simulation and game mechanics at the core of the game. The more accessible the information and interactions can be, the more complex we can make that information and those interactions. In order to get there, we have 3 UX pillars. Get the right information at the right time, clear feedback about cause and effect, and clearly separate actions from information. So what tools do they have at their disposal to provide user experience that satisfies these lofty goals? In the dev diary, I'll walk you through some of the main tools and approaches. It's great. Oh, yes. Nested tooltips are like the best innovation that CK3 brought. Without a doubt, nested tooltips are great. There is one piece of technology we cannot see this game without: nested tooltips. We used it for both game concept and for getting more detailed breakdowns of numbers, and boy, do we have numbers. This allows us to achieve parts of the first UX pillar, the right information at the right time. Instead of having to explain every single detail and anecdote in a single humongous tooltip, we can focus on the most essential and important information for the current context and leave any information that might not be directly tied to this context for the nested tooltips to cover. This is crucial in Victoria 3, where every single thing affects a whole bunch of other things, some very important and others simply knock-on effects. So we've got this tooltip here, and they've obviously hovered over taxation, and it's brought up the taxation tooltip. Then you can hover over the money tooltip or the goods tooltip. It's great. It's great. Nested tooltips are phenomenal. I will never say a bad word against nested tooltips. I am 100% in favor. We got this one as well, hovering over Texas, and Texas is being shown here. Lovely. Very, very nice. Of course, nested tooltips come with their own set of challenges. This is where we are happy to allow for a lot of customization and tweaking. For example, how do you want the tooltip to lock? Mouse tendency, timer lock, or action lock? I prefer action lock. That is when you press a button to keep the tooltip there. Mouse tendency is finicky. Basically, you hover over Texas and then it'll show up. And then if your mouse moves up towards the nested tooltip, it'll stay. If it moves in a direction away, then it won't. But I often hover over Texas, and then I'll move my mouse like that, and that'll get the tooltip away. It's not great. Timer lock, if you hover over it for a long enough time, then it will lock in place. But what if I know I want to have the tooltip open up nestedly? No, action lock is just objectively superior. Subjectively superior. Let's move on. And also, how long do you want the timer lock to be on for? Blah, 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 whatever. Use action lock, it's the best one. Another thing we show in these tooltips is the next thing on the agenda and what you've all been waiting for: graphs. Data visualization. One of the more challenging areas to clearly give feedback of a value's change over time. In a game with as many interlocking systems as Victoria, giving feedback on how something has changed over time becomes an essential part of the game loop. How can we take several values and show you exactly how it's changed over time? You guessed it, line graphs. Objectively the best type of graph. I don't know if that's true. I just know pi, isn't it? We never make a Victoria game without a proper amount of graphs and charts. And yes, you can switch to... No. Oh, wait, you can switch to them? It's not... Wait, is it seriously not... Are pie charts not the default? That's amazing. Anyway, yeah, so line chart to see, your trend over time. Love it. Great stuff. That's interesting as a pie. I still don't like it though. It's still a pie. It's just a square pie. What do you call a square pie? It's awful. I don't like it. It scares me. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like this either. This is garbage. Fucking pie charts. I hate pie charts. Pie charts are bad. And don't come at me with fucking donut charts either, because they are just as bad, if not worse. So, numbers that update in real time and predictions. In most cases in our previous games, you have to tick the game in order to see the effects of things. In Victoria, by the way, what he means by tick the game is usually go over a monthly tick. If you go from, July the 31st and then you go to August the 1st, then the game will update a bunch of values and you'll see, the effects of some trade changes that you've made, etc. In Victoria, we're trying to make all the immediate effects of your actions available the second you take them. When taking actions that have consequences spreading far and wide throughout the game's systems, it can be really hard to pass if this is a good idea or not without excessive use of spreadsheet software. So we predict things for you, with the nested tooltip breakdown of that prediction value, of course. That's cool. That's really awesome. Being able to do it instantly instead of waiting a month, or a week, or a day, or whatever, that's really, really good. I like that a lot. The building panel provides you with all the raw building data you could ever read, for you to analyze however you like. For whatever action you may desire, we provide our warmest support in your calculating endeavors, with predictions such as the weekly balance when changing production method, and predicted earnings of the building if you were to expand it. That's really cool. That's going to make it so much easier to know. It's like, am I going to make a profit on this? It's got so many different things that go into it, right? Are you able to meet the new supply that this upgrade will demand? At first glance, it'd be, who knows, but if it's going to predict that for you, that's fantastic news. That's really, really handy. I love it. I love that. That's really, really nice. Very, very nice indeed. So here is the tooltip that you would get if you were to switch to ceramics. Nice. It would consume less dye. It would produce less porcelain and more glass. Increase in laborers, decrease in shopkeepers. Okay. Like I say, a lot of these things will become more clear once you get a little bit of knowledge of actually playing the game as well, I'm sure. Predicting earnings per week and all that kind of stuff that would change if you changed the coal mines in Alsace-Lorraine as well. Nice. That's really, really cool. Having that prediction in a tooltip is really awesome. I've got some focus on the map as well. Our map is gorgeous, and we want to put more emphasis on it. For example, all events in the game have a location on the map, and if you were to hover over a state name in any text, that state will be highlighted on the map. That's nice to see. This makes it easier to connect the names of things with their representation on the map, giving context to the text and the map. However, one of the coolest contextual informations, we're creating our map modes. Good. More map modes is better. Map modes are great. We have map modes connected to most of our information panels, triggering when you open each panel, which gives you the right contextual information at the right time. With the use of icons, numbers, and different heat maps, we enable you to see several layers of contextual information at the same time without getting things too cluttered, without you having to scroll through a big sheet of data. Albeit, all map modes also exist in list form, making it possible to sort the information that is shown on the map, not entirely unlike a visual ledger. I hope we have a ledger as well. I suppose all map modes exist in list form. They exist in list form in a ledger? Because that's something that was very much missed in Imperator when it first came out and was added after the fact because people demanded it back. I hope they're just going with a ledger from the off in Vicky 3. That would be quite nice. We have the lenses, which we've learned a little bit about already. Every action you can take on the map, you can take from the 5 lenses: production lens, political lens, diplomatic lens, military lens, and trade lens. Each lens comes with its own map mode. Basically, it's like viewing your country from a specific point of view. That's these the big buttons on the bottom that I've seen people complain that look like mobile game buttons, but I mean it's just a really stupid argument, I feel, because thing I don't like, mobile game is a pretty common complaint these days. And just because it's a big button doesn't mean it's a mobile game. But yeah, no, it's cool. It's cool. I like it. We have the state interactions here as well, because you're in the production menu, right? So you click the production lens. Is that like shifted the entire bottom of the screen up? It kind of looks like it. It's shifted the entire screen up. And then you're able to click on the various different tabs here. Then you click on Iron Mines, and then you can see where you build. Oh, that's cool. That's nice. It's basically the macro builder. Right? It's basically the macro builder. But they've called it lenses and put it on the bottom of the screen. Okay, fair enough. I don't have a problem with that. Some right-click menus. The map interactions in the lenses are our take on the macro builder. Like, yeah, no, okay, fair enough. I just probably should have read a little bit more before I said, oh, it's basically the macro builder. Yes, it is. That is when you know what action you want to take, and then you select what type of entity to perform the action on. On the other side of the coin, we use the right-click menus for when you know what entity you want to perform an action on, and then select an action from the list of potential actions. We have this for states, markets, characters, buildings, interest groups, and goods. So anytime you see those in the game, you can right-click on them to get a list of actions you can perform. Okay. That's different from previous games where, you say right-click on your nation or another nation, and it'll bring you to like a diplomacy screen. Would be the standard thing. So yeah, it's a new way. It's very, a lot of things in Vicky are looking like a paradigm shift, or just a new way of doing a grand strategy game. And even down to the simplest of things, like what happens when you right click on something has been standardized for so long in so many of their games, and now it's changing. Like Victoria 2, what was that? Came out in like 2011, I think, something like that. When you right-clicked on a nation, it brought up the diplomacy screen for that nation. And now, like every game since then, until now, has had that be the case. Now having a menu pop up, that's an interesting change. I like it. It's an interesting change, though. Empty states, often forgotten but extremely important. This is the feedback of dead ends, such as looking at the urban buildings tab of a state with no urban buildings. A useful empty state will let the player know what's happening, why it's happening, and what to do about it. In a state with no urban buildings, we should of course tell this to the player, but also include the potential urban buildings which the player could build in that state. This is only one of many examples, and you'd be surprised how often this simple yet important UX design aspect is forgotten. The empty state tells the player what that screen could be populated with, and what the player can do about it. Alright. That's nice. That's a nice thing, right? Being told, this isn't, it's not here. Here's how you make it be here. Like it. Good. It's good. Should you get an economics degree before you play Victoria 3? Well, I mean, one person has. Far be it from us to ever discourage anyone from getting an economics degree, yet despite Victoria 3's immense depth and complexity, our intention is still to allow you to learn even the most advanced concepts the game is based on as you play. One aspect of this is the tutorial, which we're putting more focus onto than ever before, and we'll cover in detail in a future dev diary. Another aspect is through tool-tippable game concepts, which work much like an integrated dictionary or rulebook. Whenever you see a concept in text such as POPs, dividends, taxes, or market price, you can tooltip it to get an explanation of what it means and references to related concepts and mechanics. This is a powerful tool, together with the nested tooltips, allows us to design and explain anything in the game without writing a novel in each tooltip, and as a player you can choose to deep dive into any peculiarities as you see fit. Dope. Love it. Yeah, being able to see, basically instead of just, I'm hovering over Texas because I want to know what Texas is, or I'm hovering over money, like hovering over concepts as well, or, not just mechanics, not just things that will change, but like having tutorial stuff in tooltips is pretty dope. I like that. Also, putting more emphasis on the tutorial. Up until CK3, Paradox didn't have a single good tutorial, so this is really nice to see. More accessibility features as well. Last but not least, we can talk about UX without mentioning accessibility, and boy, we're happy to have something never before seen in a PDX game. Color blindness mode for text. Fantastic. Good stuff. I'm personally not colorblind, but I have friends who are, who have much trouble with the standard green for good number, red for bad number, considering red-green colorblindness is like the most common type. So, yeah, great to see this. We have it on our roadmap to make this feature work with more things in the game as well. We've also worked hard to get to a point where the UX scaling should work even better out of the box than previous releases. Fantastic. So this looks like standard, and then you can change it to this, so like a lighter green and a purple, And then you got a blue and a red. Lovely. That's just fantastic. Work with the most common types of colorblindness, or maybe even let people choose their own colors. Just saying. That's all for the first Dev Diary of 2022. What an exciting year we have in front of us, with so many tooltips to design and improve on. We'll be back next week where Kenneth, our 2D art lead, will guide us through a closer look at the UI design of Victoria 3. Love it. Fantastic. Well, I mean, what to say about this Dev Diary? It was everything that we kind of wanted, right? UX is incredibly important, and this kind of ticks all the boxes of what I want from a functioning, decent UX and UI. Obviously, I don't like pie charts, but that's whatever. That's a personal issue, right? Everything I've seen here is great and a big improvement over what we've seen in Victoria 2 and in other games, right? Nested tooltips, them making a return, is fantastic. More focus on the tutorial, fantastic. Just everything here is good. I like the focus on the lenses. The macro builder is good, but basically, I'm taking EU4 as the example here. To use the macro builder, you click on the macro builder, then you find which tab you want in the macro builder, and then you do what you want in there. Whereas with the lenses, everything is down at the bottom from the very start. That's great. The right-clicking to bring up a menu on what you want to do. It's a new design, but I like it. It checks out. I'm enjoying what I'm seeing here. But let me know if you are, right? Let me know in the comment section below what you liked in this Dev Diary. Maybe if there's something you didn't like in this Dev Diary. Maybe rage at me for not liking pie charts. That's entirely your thing, right? But yeah, I'm excited to get back into Victoria 3 videos, and hopefully we'll get our hands on Victoria 3 sometime this year. That would be quite nice. But until we have a look at the developer responses to community comments, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye.